Trash, Part 4, Chapter 1. This is Rat once again, aka Junjun, and I tell a part where I was the leader, where it gets bad, bloody, and oh so dangerous. It was soon after Gardo got back, with me and Raphael waiting for him by the canal, the sun going down. He got back and the police came in. Almost before we had time to talk, we heard the siren, and oh my God, it was a river of blue. If they'd come slow and quiet, okay, maybe they'd have got us, but oh God, thank you again that they love to make a noise and have to show up like some carnival, sirens blasting out over the town. We just did the obvious thing. Soon as we saw them, we made off. No time to say goodbye, just a half a minute to grab my money, and out we went. Bahala's a mile wide, and there are so many ways, so I led them down to the docks. We got a garbage barge across the bay, and then walked. Gardo had a friend of an uncle or someone who has a store selling dry goods, and we slunk in there and slept over, wondering what on earth we should do. Now we were really on the run. That's what it was for us, on the run. Wanted men with no place to go. We had the letter still and the map, and Gardo told us all about the Bible code, or what he understood of it. We told him about the fridge of money in Zapanta's house, and we sat there thinking and thinking, wondering how we'd do what we needed to do. Everyone sure we needed that Bible, and nobody knowing what the next step could be. I had the idea right then, because it was clear to me we had to stay safe. I said we should lie low in one of the big tourist areas where so many street kids work and beg. There's a great gang of them there, and I'd spent some time in it after my station days, so that's when we did. We went up to the strip joints around Buendia and found a spot by a cheap hotel. We put ourselves on the edge of the crowd and tried not to draw attention. I cut off Raphael's hair, just in case anyone came looking, made him look like a madman, though he's cute enough still, cute enough to beg from foreigners, though he wouldn't do it. I said, you got to. He said no. I said my money wouldn't last, and Gardo told me to shut up. So I sewed the cash into my shorts and looked after us all with it, eating on the street and smoking to look rough as we could. We stuck together and stayed in the dark, stayed with the street boys for a night in the ruin of a place they used, but none of us felt safe. They weren't mean like the station boys, mainly because there's so many coming and going, but I think we were just so used to being a three. The crowd made Raphael nervous. We found a tiny room instead, high up in a stack of old shacks over a laundry. It wasn't much bigger than a coffin, but it was better than no doors, no windows, and the rent was low. We could just about sit up straight, so there we went and whispered our plans. I made one little change, which Gardo laughed at me for. But wasn't I the hero in the end? I have never liked being nailed up inside a house, and I did it for Raphael, too, who still wasn't sleeping good. I got an old tire lever and loosened part of the roof. Emergency exit just in case, because we knew things were getting hotter and hotter. We knew this was real, scary heat all around us. Even in the weather there was a wind and the freak typhoon hovering over the sea, and we all felt something big was coming. There was no way back from it now, and for the boys it meant they couldn't even see their people again. I heard them whispering and wondering, and Raphael cried at night for his auntie and his cousins. They could never go back to the dump site. They had lost their homes, I guess. We knew most of all that everything depended on that damn Bible and the little bit of paper we had with the lines and numbers. We had to get the Bible and set those two things together. So Gardo risked it, and one day borrowed my dirty clothes and walked all the way to Culva prison. He sat and sat, working out where the guards came out, and he spent another 2 days watching the different shifts, pretending to be deaf and dumb. When he spotted the guard he was looking for, he followed him. He followed him away from the prison, then he let the guard see him, and followed some more. The guard, Marco, he just kept going and going, then found some little tea house in the Chinese Quarter, just the two of them. That was so brave of Gardo, because we'd all worked out how the guard must know there was a price on Gardo's head. We'd gone over it and over it. The prison must have got wise to his connection to the dump, and talked to the police. They would have given anything to know what the old man and he had talked about. The big question, therefore, was if we could trust Marco. When Gardo came back, he told us bad news. The man wants 20, he said. He meant 20,000, of course. That was the price of the Bible. Raphael cursed and said, "You sure he's got it? You sure he'll give it?" Gardo thought he had, but what was dangerous was whether he'd really hand it over. He could so easily take a bit of money, say half, and then hand us in. How big a reward would they be offering for news of Gardo? The one thing none of us talked about was what would happen to us if we got arrested. We all knew that if we got taken again, we'd never get out. We'd be dead. I was getting nightmares, too, by this stage, waking up crying, all three of us, like little boys. But we stuck together like a gang. "You think he'll give it?" said Raphael for the 100th time. "Even if we get that kind of money. You think it's safe?" Gardo shrugged. "We either forget it," he said, "and live here forever, or we give it a go." 20,000 pesos, though, and I had a little under 2. My going home money, squandering it on sitting around. Like I said, we all knew we were near something huge, but the thing we were near had fences all around it. Raphael read papers to me, and every day there was an update on the Zapata robbery, with more little hints about how it happened. Police following leads and hoping to arrest someone soon. The fat man saying nothing, but the old scandal of what he did or didn't steal himself was being raked over again, and his big face looking dirty and not smiling anymore. The stories would finish the same way every time. Nothing ever proved against him. Gardo told us again and again what the old man in prison had said, and we all knew who we believed. I wanted that fat pig's money so bad I was aching. And all I could think about was fridges and that brave houseboy on a truck, stopping at a graveyard. How he got the key and his wallet into the trash. We always wondered whether he slung it when they were chasing him or put it there for someone else to find. We talked it through, but never found an answer. I think it must have been some last-minute desperate thing, and then they must have beaten it out of him at the police station just before they killed him. If I get to heaven, it's the first thing I'm going to ask him. I have no doubt he's up there. None. Anyway, to return to the story, after a week of this and getting nowhere, I decided to make my move and get the 20 for Marco. I've been turning it over in my head, not sharing it, but the more I thought about it, the more it seemed the only way. I told Raphael and Gardo I was going back to Bahala dump site just to fetch something, and I thought they weren't going to let me. They said I was crazy and it was way too dangerous. They told me if anyone saw me, I could be grabbed and handed over. There was bound to be a reward offered now for any one of us. And they couldn't imagine what it was I wanted to get, of course, and I didn't want to tell them for fear of bad luck. I'm just so used to keeping what I do private. I could not share what I was going to do, nor the fact I had to do it before the end of the month, which was coming up fast. All Souls Night on its way. That's the Day of the Dead. I had to get it done before that. I just said, "I'm going," again and again. Midnight came, and I slipped out through the roof while the boys were sleeping. I did say, I think, "When you look like the devil's child, you can't even ride a bus. You can hold out your money, but you still get swatted off like a fly." That time I rode with Raphael was luck, and the fact that he has a nice smile and I hid behind him. So I walked some of the way and jumped trucks some of the way. My luck held and got better. I found a garbage truck by the city zoo, and guess where it was going? It was going to Bahala, so I got inside it. Closer to my old home, I had to be on the lookout. Other kids might jump up too, and if I was seen, the boys were right. I had no family, so I might have been sold like a dog. We got inside the gates all right. There was a police car parked up, doors open, and that gave me a turn. But the police were just chatting to the guards, all scratching their arses, and the dogs didn't notice anything. The truck took me past the mission school, slowing down like it was my personal taxi. I was out fast, dropping and rolling, and I dived in under the building. The school was a big set of metal boxes, all bolted up together. The lower ones stand on legs, so there's a little bit of space beneath. I curled up here and waited for my heart to slow down. Nobody was out, it seemed, so I uncurled and moved to the back. There's a guard at the front, but he dozes away, because who's going to break in? Who's going to steal storybooks? It would be robbing from your own people, which is why I felt so low. I was about to thieve, not just from Bahala, from the Bahala people where I'd lived, but from Father Juilliard, who had been about the closest thing to a father I'd had so far, never knowing my real father. He was a bit slow and a bit too trusting, of course. Everyone knew that, but he was a good old boy, and I loved him. I started to climb the corner. The windows downstairs all had shutters, which were locked up at night. The upstairs windows had bars and no shutters, and I'd always made sure of an entry point. The truth was that just now and then it was nice to sleep in a big room, but I didn't make a habit of it. The other bit of truth is that I was in the bad, very bad habit of lifting money from the school safe. I did it once a month, just a little. So there were 2 bars I'd managed to bend so nobody would notice, but my head would fit through. I was through now like a shadow, and down on the old man's bit of carpet. How did I steal from the safe? Okay, the safe is on a table, fastened to the wall. It's not big, and it doesn't need to be, because it doesn't hold much. I guess all the big money goes through banks, and they just keep a bit of cash for day-to-day stuff. A bit of cash for emergencies, I suppose, but we're still talking 20 or 25,000, so I hoped. I would never take much, just 100 or so, hoping Father Juilliard would never miss it, and if he did, he'd think he'd miscounted. Once, twice a month at most, that was how my little stash got to grow, which is what I didn't tell Raphael, who's more honest than me, but it's coming out now. You're thinking, how does a boy like a dumb rat get into a safe? And the answer is so simple you could laugh. Father Juilliard, my friend, you must have a bad memory, because you write the lock combination in your diary. You change it every month, sir, at the end of the month, and write the new code down. I would always see it, open, on your desk. I'd remember it. This month it was 20861. I saw it when we were on the computer and you brought us that lemonade. But it wouldn't be the same after All Souls Night, and that was why I'd had to make my mind up to come. I put in that code and the door clicked open. Inside I found 23,000 and a bit more, so that was our Bible money for Marco. It went into my shorts and I got ready to leave. On a thought, because, please don't think the worst of me, the shame was making me ache. I stopped again. The old man's desk was full of paper, and there was a pen in the drawer. I hadn't meant to, and I knew it was a risk, but I hated the thought of you never knowing and wondering who had so betrayed you, so I drew you a picture. I could spell June, so I put the words over me and a big arrow. I tried to draw me like I was hugging Father Juilliard, who I gave a big crucifix to in case the likeness was no good. I put lots of X's because I knew people used them as kisses, and I put it in the safe. I had tears in my eyes. This was a goodbye, and though Behala Dump could go up in flames and I'd just dance. The mission school had been a good, safe, warm, friendly, happy, fun place. Sister Olivia had been one of the best, and the volunteers before her. Father Juilliard had told me stories, given me food, given me money. He'd even kissed me once, which nobody before or since ever has done. When I thought of this, climbing down the wall was hard, but I thought about Raphael and Gardo and what we had to do. I thought about Jose Angelico, too, smashed apart by police, and I carried on. I waited for a garbage truck to come by. I waited for it too slow. I was up in the back and inside, and we sailed out of the gate onto the street. I reached our little house well before dawn and slunk in next to the boys so they didn't hear me. One of the nice things about Raphael is, because he slept with his little cousins, I guess, he's in the habit of sleeping up close. I crawled in under the blanket and at once felt an arm go around me, holding me tight, and I felt less like a mean, sly, traitorous, ungrateful thief. And he had no nightmares that night. He slept easy till sunrise, breathing soft right on my neck.